I'm Jim Carney.
I'm Linda Hirsch.
And this is EdCast, a program created and produced by educators for everyone interested in education.
With the summer drawing to a close, many students will be entering one of their most challenging transitions, the move from high school to college. What does it take to succeed in college? What can colleges and families do to help students make this pivotal academic and social adjustment? Today, we'll examine the shift to college with the directors of programs responsible for helping freshmen ease into college life and be prepared for its challenges.
Later in the program, I'll visit some students enrolled in a special Freshman Year Initiative, or FYI program, where students are preparing for a second chance at passing admission exams to CUNY schools. But we begin by looking at a program called SEEK, which prepares incoming freshmen with particular challenges, both academic and financial, to entering and succeeding in college.
The SEEK program is an educational opportunity program in higher education. The state of New York, over 40 years ago, decided to create these programs.
Students who may not come in traditionally with the traditional grades or have the resources, financial, monetary resources, to attend college, to give them an opportunity not only to get in, but to be provided support financially, as well as with counseling, tutoring, etc.
A typical SEEK student is a student who meets two criteria. Primarily, it's their household come from a low-income household, and secondly, they academically need support.
Here at Lehman College, I work with students who need to work on their entrance exams, and so I'm what they call like a runner. I go out to find students who haven't passed their exams, to give them support, to give them guidance, to direct them, to encourage them, to push them.
What was your experience with the SEEK program, and how did it help you?
Well, at first I was like, I didn't like it at all. I felt like I was like outcast, and there's like SEEK program here and regular people here. But after a while, like when I met friends that were not in the SEEK program, it like did help like at all kinds of questions. And I'm like, let's go to your counselor. Like, we don't have a counselor, so that was like I go to her for everything pretty much. I don't know what I would do without her.
The job is pretty rewarding.
Oh, it's a great job. It's a great job. A lot of great students. It's great to see students at their raw stage when they first come in, and it's really wonderful to work with them and help them work through their obstacles, help them to face the challenges and deal with the challenges that are before them until they get to the place where they really can utilize the system more independently, and then you see a change in them, a maturity in them, and you know they're ready to go on.
Now back to Linda and her guests in the studio.
My guests today are Zenaida Bough, Coordinator of Freshman Programs at Lehman College, and Kate Szur, Director of First Year Experience at John Jay College. Welcome to EdCast, and thank you for joining us. We're about to start a new school year. Who's been applying to CUNY? Who are our students going to be?
A lot of them, at least for John Jay, are New York City students or New York State students. About 90% of our students come from New York State, and probably well over 80% come from New York City. So a lot of them are New York City high school graduates. So these are the students you see all over the city on the subway around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And Lehman?
Lehman, being housed in the Bronx, has a large number of Bronx residents that decide to join. It's easy for them to commute, so that's I think our largest pool. But we see other city students as well.
Has there been an upsurge in applicants this year? Did more people apply?
I would assume so.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of enrollment, the criteria for things like the SATs. And also at Lehman, the entrance exams, also the criteria for the math exams also were raised. So the enrollment actually has dropped a little bit because of those new criteria.
So those new standards are in place. Mm-hmm. So this, I think, gives us a good opening to the question about what happens to students between high school and college, and what are some of the major problems that you think they face when they come to college?
Well, you know, definitely in high school they're, you know, what we like to call, you know, a little bit babied. You know, there's a lot of hand-holding going on. Teachers have access to parents, you know, and through, you know, those relationships, you know, they kind of keep track of their kids', you know, achievements. But when they get to college, it's definitely different. Parents have to back off a little, and these students then become responsible for themselves, and that's very different for most of the students.
And it's definitely a hard adjustment for students to become independent and take charge of their educational decisions. They're not, you know, we're going through registration now, so students who in high schools were just handed their schedules, now they have to pick their own classes, they have to decide whether they're going to take a certain class in the first semester, in the second semester, and often they feel that they don't have enough information, not because the information is not out there, but it might not be out there in a very digestible format, so they have to do research, you know, some college skill that they have to look it up for themselves, and that's that can be daunting for a 17-year-old or even for an older student.
What are some of the disconnects, do you think, between the high school classroom and the college classroom?
One of the again, college classroom is a lot more self-directed than a high school classroom. Students are not reminded as much of deadlines, not reminded as much of responsibilities, so they have to be more in charge. They also college classes are larger. We have a lot of classes with over 100 students in them, so that individual attention that they might have gotten in high school from their teachers is not always there, is not that readily there. Again, they have to seek it out. And I think it's what I've noticed is that students, freshmen especially, don't seek out professors or counselors as much, and it might be because in high school, when you were called by the principal or the teacher, it's because you're in trouble. In college, that works exactly the opposite way. You do want to talk to your professor, you do want to talk to your advisors.
That's very good advice for people listening, to go out and seek out faculty people and go ask for help. And faculty really are there for that reason.
That's the same at Lehman as well.
Now, in terms of being college ready, you know, we talk about being ready for college. What do students need to have in place to be college ready?
I think, you know, definitely they have to have a good self-discipline, you know, and that's something that obviously you pick up through your life. You know, parents and their teachers, you know, are kind of charged with preparing them for that kind of thing.
What about in an academic context? What do they need to have, do you think, to succeed?
Well, we measure them by the test scores, of course, that they put on their application. But I think more importantly, they have to, rather than simply passing that writing test or having that verbal SAT score, the ability to read critically and be able to compile information from a variety of sources, analyze it and present it. I think it's very important early on. This is something that they're going to be asked in their first semester in smaller doses and then later on.
You both mentioned that the majority of your students are coming from the high schools, those students who you said we see on the subway, we see them in the city. Do you think the high schools are doing an adequate job preparing students for college? I say this because, you know, it's no secret that many of our students still come to CUNY, and many of them need to take remedial classes. So what's your take on what's happening to them in the high schools?
What we're experiencing is that students, whether they are remedial or not remedial, even students who start in freshman level classes often need additional support. Not necessarily because, again, that they did not acquire the material that was given in the high school, but rather that they're not ready to make the leap to seeing the connections, to be able to work independently, I think. So I think a lot of I don't know, and when I talk to students, it seems that they don't do assignments and tasks in their senior year in high school that would resemble college assignments. So they are very familiar with the way high school assignments are structured, the expectations, and they can perform well there. But there seems to be somewhat of a disconnect, and that's not actually a CUNY or a New York City issue. It's a national issue between what's happening in high schools and the expectations of colleges.
I know that there are some programs that try to offer kind of a gateway for students while they're still in high school. You know, programs like College Now.
College Now, which has done a great job preparing students.
Yes, and I think that more high school students need to take advantage of that kind of opportunity because it really helps them.
That's a good point. I know when we've spoken to people who do College Now, they mention that they have to help students get over the notion that college is 13th grade. And I think that's what you were saying, that it's not 13th grade, it's something completely different, and they have to get them to know that. We have a lot of first-generation college students at CUNY, which we are proud of. Do they come with any particular needs that are unique to the fact that they're first-generation college students?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest difference is their home experience. Their parents, if they hadn't been at college themselves, don't really understand and can't really guide them and help them, you know, give them advice and that kind of thing. So, you know, they're really left out there to seek that kind of guidance, you know, from advisors and faculty, and you know, and like we said earlier, a lot of times they're a little afraid to do that, you know, so it kind of gives them an alone in the world feeling.
But they are extremely motivated. I think that's in a sense the benefit of being a first-generation college student, that they really dare to prove to themselves, to their families, to their communities that they can make it in college. So that's the positive side. But I agree that it's confusing for them often to even to find out who to talk to and pluck up the courage to go up to that person. We at John Jay, we started creating resources with students in mind, which sounds like a novel idea, even though I think we should have been there. But we started writing our text with students in mind, so we're not writing for students who are not familiar with college terminology or parents who are not familiar with college terminology.
Do you have an example of what a family-friendly text would look like versus one that was not?
A lot of it is the terminology that you tell them to go to the bursar's office.
Right, what's the bursar?
Or when we say, you know, have you passed the CUNY test? Often we refer to the CUNY assessment test as the CUNY. Different people in different offices refer to the test by different names in casual conversation. In documents we try to use, of course, the same. We give tips and advice to students, such as always write down the name of the person who you get information from and the phone number, so when you're referred to the next station and some questions come up, they can call the person who sent you. So these are very commonsensical issues in a sense, but I think they are to anybody who's navigating a new environment, these are important.
I think it's great that you're giving a new look and a new eye on that, because that's really interesting. I think we could use some of the texts we give students in the writing classroom to show students bad and good examples. And that idea of not defining, using a term and not defining it, is the very thing we tell them to be careful that they don't do. Jim was able to pay a visit to a special FYI workshop where students are working through the summer to improve their basic skills so they can pass the required entry exams for college. Let's take a look.
What if you put your own personal spin on it? So what if your topic sentence reflected your personal opinions? For example,
today's class and the whole week, in fact, is about paragraph development. I found that, you know, when I'm working with the students and preparing them to write an essay, that it's very easy, I feel, for them to absorb the idea of structure. Everybody really gets that because it's almost mathematical in its precision.
The workshop helps us in a way to prepare us for college and some of the writing skills we will use in college. And today in class, we basically did strategies of how to write, how to prepare ourselves, and how to be more open into writing.
In this course, we are learning to have better writing skills, and what the professor is giving us now is showing how to write a very good essay. That's our goal, to pass the ACT test, so that way we can go to college.
The overall purpose of these workshops is to prepare the student to take the ACT essay test and to take the ACT reading test and take the ACT math test. The program is important because I think it provides a way for students to be able to get into the freshman program, but they have to pass this test. They have to be able to write a 5-paragraph essay. They have to be able to take the reading portion of the test, and then they have to be able to pass the math. So it's an entrance exam.
This class prepares you, and it helps you a lot to understand what you will be taking in an exam, and it gives you a little entrance to entering college, of the experience that you're going to see, the students, the new people, the environment, everything.
I love the program because it's really inclusive. My classroom is always a miniature United Nations, and that, you know, I have students who are from Albania, and I have students who are from Russia, from China, Korea, from Dominican Republic, from really literally all around the world. And so everybody has an opportunity. So it's very democratic in that way, and it's also very New York.
I've been out of school for 21 years. The thinking process and the whole test-taking process is so difficult. This workshop opens doors to different ideas, to how things have evolved since 20 years ago. So I definitely feel comfortable, and I'm definitely grateful for these programs being in place. Absolutely.
Now back to Linda and her guests in the studio.
This was a look at one of the Lehman College FYI programs. Tell us a little bit about now the variety of programs that each of you offer students who are entering the freshman year, either in the summer and even throughout the whole freshman year. Zenaida, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what happens in the Lehman FYI?
During the summer? Or?
And both.
Well, we could start in the summer. We offer a summer immersion program, you know, for a variety of different types of students, largely for the students who are still trying to pass their entrance exams, the writing, reading, and the math tests. Those who have taken the tests and failed are given an opportunity for an intervention, and those are those workshops.
What happens after the summer?
After the summer, they are invited in, you know, for the orientation and registration events, which happen throughout the summer. We have several of those. And at orientation, they're given a lot of, you know, really useful information, you know, like in terms of financial aid and all that kind of stuff. And then they're invited to the registration, which is where they enter the freshman year initiative at Lehman, which is a learning community program, or we call it block program. The program itself is really, it's got two focuses. It's got a social networking focus, you know, for peer support for the students. And then on the other side, you know, faculty also work together and collaborate, you know, within the disciplines to bring students a much more meaningful interdisciplinary experience.
What about at John Jay? Do they have a similar idea?
Yes.
And what's your variation?
Yes, we have in the summer, John Jay still admits conditional students, so our summer programs focus on skills development. We have
so a conditional student would be what? They are admitted on condition of?
On condition of passing.
Okay.
See, I just did the
right.
thing that we're talking about.
On condition of passing those exams.
Passing the CUNY exam.
Okay.
So we enroll them in a summer academy program that prepared them for the CUNY test. And this program has a social component of it also. In last summer we offered a 1-hour workshop, 1 hour a day workshop accompanying the skill classes, where students learned college success skills, or learned about college success skills. And these workshops were facilitated by faculty or peer advisors. They were working on things like time management, note-taking skills, academic planning. For this summer, we're also piloting some bridge courses for skills-certified students. This is basically, we call it the John Jay Early Start, and we're offering it in English. So students can come in and participate in a freshman composition class, which is longer in duration than the regular freshman composition class. and it includes field trips and campus tours and campus visits. So it helps students transition to the college, and they can also work on this one skill in isolation without taking any other classes.
This idea of learning communities is very popular on campuses now, not just in CUNY, but across the country. And you want to tell us a little bit about, just for people listening, what we mean in education by a learning community. What happens in these learning communities?
Our learning communities are a little bit more loosely structured than the Lehman learning communities, I think, because we only pair 2 courses. So we have a cohort of students who take 2 classes together, and the 2 professors who teach the classes collaborate. They align their syllabi, they plan joint assignments, they plan joint field trips, and we have a learning community event at the end of we call it the learning community showcase at the end of the fall semester, when learning community students display results of their research. It's basically a research presentation event, which was really well attended.
Gives them a taste
last
of
year.
what's
Exactly.
coming. What about Elina? You mentioned this social networking idea. This I think was really interesting. This way the students build their own peer community, and then they also take block classes, which means they all are in the same classes.
Well, if, for example, this coming fall, we are offering 33 block learning communities, and they consist, for us, they're 5 or so classes. We try to give them at least 15 credits, and they do. Within each block, the same 25 students, kind of travel together, to each class. And because of this, it mimics high school in some sense, because they're really able to create those important friendships. And those friendships, they've been known to last.
Support.
Yes.
What can people do who are listening and they're not yet senior year, maybe they're in 9th grade? What would you suggest that students do to prepare themselves for college now, while they're still not in college, while they're in high school? What should they do?
Definitely to take opportunities like college now seriously, and to prepare themselves. I mean, even through our summer immersion, we offer, other than the workshops, we also offer gateway courses like biology prep, students going into pre-med and nursing and that kind of thing. We offer these courses that help them prepare themselves for the fall.
And what would you say?
I agree with the idea of taking college now classes. I think they should also go and visit the campuses, even though they often, I think, New York City students think that they know the school because it's just around the corner. But I think it's important to go there when they have open houses or campus visit days, and see if the facility and the staff, the faculty, are really a good fit for you.
I think that's very good advice. I mean, certainly a student who's going away to school, they're always encouraged to visit the school, and even if it's a CUNY school, and as you say, you think it's around the corner, and if the families can go with them. I do know, of course, that families do come along. I know from my own son, the advice is don't say anything. When we describe the college student today, are there particular habits of mind that student should have or possess in order to succeed in college?
Yes.
If you all right, what are they? Time management.
Yes, that's a big one. Self-discipline. And definitely note-taking. Note-taking in college is very important, and it's a skill that a lot of times they're not really taught, beforehand. So.
Anything? Yes.
Do not procrastinate.
Do not procrastinate. I know. You just made everyone cry out there.
But, in a sense, the college schedule is really conducive to procrastination, because you have these big gaps between classes when it's just so easy to hang out with your friends.
And then miss your next class.
Miss your next class, or miss taking advantage of campus resources. And that would be another piece of advice, I think, that take advantage of all the tutoring resources or the learning resources on campus. A lot of students think that these are only for academically less prepared students or for students who are in trouble, but really these are for everybody. Successful students are successful for a reason.
And there are graduate students who go to writing centers. Any final piece of advice you want to give our students out there
Enjoy the summer, read a good book on the beach.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. Zenaida Bough and Kate Szur. Zenaida from Lehman, Kate Szur from John Jay. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't go away, we will be back with our Ed Bites.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have any suggestions or comments, drop us an email at our email address.
Welcome back to this edition of Ed Bites.
Is it fair to judge teachers on the basis of student test scores? In a recent edition of the Washington Post, a first-year, second career teacher gave her recommendations for making this kind of accountability fairer for teachers. The teacher, Michelle Kerr, suggests that teachers should be able to remove disruptive students more easily from the classroom. Teachers should only be evaluated on the results of students who attend class at least 90% of the time. Students who don't achieve basic proficiency in a subject should not be permitted to advance to the next grade level, and teachers should be assessed on actual student improvement, not an absolute standard.
With all the attention focused on charter schools, small schools and their promise have taken a back seat. Now comes new research that indicates New York City small high schools have indeed been successful. Education Week reports on a study that indicates students do better academically in smaller, more personal high schools than in larger ones. The study looked at 20 large failing New York City high schools which were shut down and replaced with 200 smaller schools. Researchers found that students who ended up in the small schools were more likely to be on track by 9th grade and to graduate in 4 years than their peers in other kinds of high schools.
5 years ago, the New York State Education Department announced that to earn a Regents High School diploma, students would be required to pass 5 tests by the time the program is fully phased in 2012. At the time, concerns were raised about the effect of these changes on graduation rates. Now the picture is clearer. The New York Times reports that if the requirements were fully in place today, New York City's graduation rate would drop. According to the Times analysis, if the new standards were in place for the class of 2009, the city's graduation rate would have been about 45%, instead of the nearly 60% that city officials were able to cite. Among Black and Latino students, barely more than 1/3 would have received diplomas. All this has prompted much discussion about the nature of the tests, how they're graded, and the effects of raising the bar.
Children with special needs may have a new ally in their education efforts: virtual online instruction. E-learning reports that parents of these children are considering cyber-schooling as an alternative to traditional schools, places where their children often fail to thrive. Before putting their children online, parents must carefully assess children's needs and be prepared to advocate on their behalf. A switch to a cyber school requires great parent commitment and a careful look at curriculum. Experts caution that more research is needed to make sure special needs students receive the support they need in the online learning environment.
Well, that does it for this edition of EdCast. Thanks for watching.
Until next time, class dismissed.
EdCast is made possible in part by contributions from
Lesh & Lesh, your Bronx attorneys.